Hello, friends, and welcome to another video lesson from DBOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This video is in the playlist called Linux Tutorial, and here we'll be learning about the Linux home directory. Okay, so we have mentioned this in previous videos more than once, I believe. I'm sure. So here we're going to talk about it and you get to know what it is all about. Okay, this is not a myth. So things to take note. I'm going to paste it here for your information. Just clear this. So every user or a user ID, a username, a login ID, every Linux user ID has a unique home directory attached to it. So the path is usually /home/ and then the username. Okay, so in my case, the username, if you remember this command from one of my probably the second video in this playlist, then you would have known this command who am I, which tells you the username of the one who is logged in into the session you're looking at. Okay, so that will be the username, which will have its own so-called home directory. Okay, why is home directory important? Okay, let me just clear this again and then paste it here. So you normally have full permissions at this location. Okay, you will get to know about file permissions, folder permissions as we go through in the subsequent videos. But just get to know, just bear in mind, take note that of all the places in the Linux directory tree, the home directory is the place where you have the most permissions as a user. Okay. Second, it keeps each user's data separate from system files in folders like /user, /etc, or /bin. Okay, so you have your own container in the file system where, as mentioned in the first point, you have the most permissions. Okay. Third, many programs read their configuration settings from your home directory when they stop. Okay. Okay, so let's just clear the screen again. Okay, let's take a look at the home directory. Actually, upon logging in, a user will be taken to his or her home directory. Let's use the pwd command. Okay, so we're actually now located at the home directory of the username or user ID DBOS. And as I mentioned a while back, this is the usual path of the home directory, /home/ and then the username here. Okay, so it happens upon logging in. Now let's look at the contents of the home directory. You've learned this command, the list command, ls, in a previous video, so let's get to know it more, practice it, okay, ls. So it tells me that within the home directory of the username called dbos, it contains at least one directory. It may not be all, it may have a subdirectory, which we do not see for now because of the nature of this simplistic command that I'm using. Okay, so list is simply listing objects like directories or folders, otherwise known as folders, directories and or files. So I see right now we can say that we do not know, being new to Linux maybe, and maybe because of the color coding here, color scheme used by the Linux flavor I'm using, you may not be certain if this object called snap is a directory or a file. That's a good point. So to get around it, then we will use the ls-l. We've learned in a previous video that list long means to make a detailed listing of files and directories. Okay, so list long. Since I am not supplying any parameter or argument after this command, that means I want to do a detailed listing at the current position or location, which is the product or the output of the pwd command, which is this. So I'm telling Linux, do a detailed listing of objects, files, and directories in this location. Okay. So it simply gives me one directory. That's because we're not doing using an option to do a recursive listing, but that will come later. Right now, let's just one step at a time. So we can see one directory. We know it's a directory because, as I mentioned in the previous video, when you do a list long, when you use this command, ls-l, it, if you look at the output, the first character tells you something about the file type of the object type. So in this case, D means this object is a directory. If it's a dash, hyphen or dash, it could, then it's a file. If it's an L, letter L, then it's a link. Okay, so those are some of the more common variations of the value of this first character here, which tells you something about the file type or object type. Okay, so this is a directory. Knowing that it is a directory, then I can use the cd command, which you have learned in a previous video. Cd, of course, stands for change directory, and it is used to either go up or down the directory tree, or even go lateral to another directory which is at the same level. Okay, so I'll do a cd space the directory name, which is snap. Okay, all right, so if I do a pwd now, print current working directory, then we're now located at this location, /home/dbos/snap. So we're no longer at the home directory, but we have moved deeper or lower down the directory tree because of the cd snap command. It went to this, okay? And if we do a list long also here, then it is, you're telling Linux, I want to do a detailed listing of objects, that means directories and files within this location, at this location, okay? So we can see it has a directory. We know that because the list long output begins with a letter D, which means it's a directory. This object called tree is a directory, okay? Okay, so if you notice, we have been using a couple of the commands that we've used in previous videos, which are really used in high frequency once you get to use Linux at the workplace. Okay, we have pwd, you have ls, you have list long, which is a variation of the list long, meaning with the option of doing a detailed listing, and then you have the cd, of course. Okay. Now we shall be learning different ways of going to the home directory. Of course, we'll be using the cd command, which is where? I think somewhere up there. Yeah, it's here. We use the cd command, okay? So we'll be using the cd command to do uh, to go to the locations, the home directory, in different ways. You don't have to know all these, but it's good to know. Okay, so you have that knowledge, you have that option and flexibility to be able to go to the home directory wherever you are at a certain point. Okay, let's just say we want to go to the root directory, which we also have learned in a previous video. This is the very beginning of the directory tree. So if I do a cd space slash, it takes me to the root directory, which is in Windows, something like c:\\d /d:\\. Okay. So if I do a pwd, it will tell me my location is now at the root directory, represented by a slash, sometimes called the others as /. Okay. So now that we're at this location, and then I want to go to the home directory, the first thing I'm gonna teach you is using, of course, the absolute path, which we have learned in a previous video, okay? So that is absolute, meaning the path to a file or the path to a directory will begin with a slash, with the root directory. So it gives you, or you're using a full path or complete path starting from the slash. So I would say slash home slash dbos. Okay, sorry. cd /home /dbos. So this is using the cd command and going to the home directory using the absolute path, which we have learned in a previous video. So it takes us there, and when you do a pwd, of course, it takes you there. Okay, so this is the first way of going to the home directory using the absolute path. Let's reset and go to the root directory. Okay, clear this. Now, the second way to go to the home directory is this. It's simply cd followed by nothing. You just cd and then enter. cd enter. Okay, so remember we are at the root directory now. Sorry, pwd slash. We want to go to the home directory. The other way, a second way we're gonna learn in this video is to do a cd enter, and it takes me there. If I do a pwd now, I'm at the home directory, isn't it? So that's the second way. Again, you don't have to know all these, but it helps, and it's truly good that if you happen to know these few options of going to the home directory. Okay. That's probably the quickest way of going to the home directory, cd enter. So you can take note of that, write it down somewhere, or you can have a mental note of that. It will truly help you. The next way is doing this. Okay, let me just clear again. Now let me go to the root directory first. Clear, pwd. Okay, so the next we're gonna learn is this. Again, going to the home directory, you'll do this. Cd space and then the tilde character. Okay, I don't know how you pronounce it, tilde or tilde. So the tilde looks like this. Okay, again, you can look it up how it's properly pronounced. I don't know for sure, but that's how it is spelled at least. So again, we're located at the root. So we go to the home directory. This is another way, cd space tilde, and it takes you there. You want to prove it, then pwd, we're there. Okay, so you've learned that third way of going to the home directory. The next way, let me just reset and go to the root again. Clear, pwd, then we're at root. The next way to go to the home directory is using something called, I'll paste it here. It's called an environment variable. Okay, so in some other video, we will learn about Linux environment variables, but in this video, you'll be learning one of them, which is the home environment variable. Okay, so that is one way of going to the home directory. Again, we're located at the root. So I'll do cd space dollar home. Again, in Linux, for the commands, the syntaxes, the options, the variables, including environment variables, they are, for the most part, case sensitive. Take note of that, okay? So now this is the fourth way you're learning how to go to the home directory in still using the cd command, but with a different spin to it, with a different twist to it, which is using an environment variable called home. And take note, the home variable, environment variable, is capitalized, H-O-M-E, all in uppercase. And remember, in Linux, also in Unix, whenever you want to use the value of a variable, you will have to begin it with a dollar sign. So the dollar sign followed by the, okay, dollar followed by the variable name. That will substitute it. So when you use this command, it is saying cd, and then Linux gets the value of this variable. Whatever is the value is being substituted on the fly, and then it executes the command. So cd and whatever is the value of $home environment variable. So remember, earlier we were located at the root directory slash. So now if I do pwd, we should be at the home. No, not that one. Okay, so that's because we use the home environment variable. Again, we'll be learning about environment variables in subsequent videos, not now. But here we have learned about the home directory, how to get to it, and what it is about, and what are the benefits, how useful it is to us. Okay, why is it important? So let me briefly explain the syntax of this here. Okay, again, just because it's something new to you. We are using a variable. In Linux, again, variable names are case sensitive. And then there's a certain type of variables are called environment variables, and they get loaded or initialized during login. So Linux will be using certain files. It could be a bash profile, could be in Unix, it could be dot profile. So certain files are being used, which is meant to configure your preferred settings, okay, for the environment of your shell. Okay, so we are leveraging on an environment variable called home, which is uppercase HOME. And in Linux, whenever you want to use the value of that of a variable, you have to begin it with a dollar, no space in between dollar and the variable name. Okay, so cd dollar home, meaning cd. I want to do a cd to the value of this. Okay, so in this video, we've learned about the home directory of Linux and the various ways of using the cd command to go to that location. Okay, we've learned using the absolute path. We learned using the cd enter, which is probably the quickest, and then using the cd space tilde character. And then lastly, we learned to go to the home directory using cd uh, space dollar home, which is an environment variable. Okay, thank you for watching and listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell. And I'm gonna be seeing you in the next video.